everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be talking about everything I feel is wrong with the Mobius Path or Mobius event from Unison League. First of all, where are my knights at? When I first started playing this event as a noob, I realized that matchmaking was a really big problem, and this is a problem that has persisted into the present day. Even though things have changed a bit because we have the 3 new classes, the Rook, the Treasure Hunter, and the Berserker, matchmaking is an issue. That's because of how the Mobius event is designed. You're supposed to have one player from each class take a place in your party. So originally this was just the cleric, the knight, the archer, mage, and lancer, but as I said before, things have expanded to include the new classes, and they can take a place in your party. Despite this, I find that I can't fill that 4th and 5th slot. Specifically the 5th slot, I can usually get up to 4, but then no one comes to fill in the 5th. I guess because no one's playing that other class. It seems like everybody's playing an archer and everyone's competing to be the archer in your group, but I can never seem to get a knight. And that was something I noticed when I first started playing. I'd have one of my alts play a knight just so I could leave, even though they weren't great, because I was tired of waiting. It's a big problem. I find that every time I play Mobius, I'll get a few people together and then I'm waiting for someone else to join. And then time runs out and I have to disband my party and try to make a new one because I don't want to go in with computer players because they're crap. And it's really annoying. I feel like most of the time I wait at least 5 minutes to get a party together, and that's on a good day, and it really pisses me off. Another problem I've noticed is that the event takes a really long time. That's because you start with a 5-minute timer, but that timer can expand based off how you do. If you kill the monster you're fighting, usually within the first 15 to 20 seconds, you get another 10 seconds added to your timer. So your timer can keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And if you're a good player, that typically means that at an absolute minimum, you are playing this event for 10 minutes. If you're a top tier player, you're probably playing this event for 30 minutes to an hour to clip. And that just makes me wonder, where's my pee break at? What do you do if you really need to go to the bathroom? Especially if you're at one of the higher levels. Because if you're the cleric, you have to be around to save everybody. And if you're DPS, you have to do your job. You have to destroy things. Otherwise, the monsters you're facing get stronger and your team is more likely to die. A. B. If the cleric realizes you're not doing anything because you either forgot to put yourself on automatic or you're clearly AFK because you're not attacking frequently, they're just going to ignore you when you need heals and let you die first because you're not being helpful. So, seems like a problem. Another problem is the fact that it's hard to make a good build, specifically if you're a free-to-play player. Mobius always has a weakness. Say all the monsters are wind monsters, so you want to use fire. If you're free to play, you probably don't have a ton of fire gear, so making an ideal build to go into the Mobius is really difficult. You just don't have the resources to get the kind of gear you need, or you can only get gear from quests, and typically that gear isn't very good, and your gear score is going to plummet, and then no one's going to want to bring you with them. Like the raid, the Mobius is a timed event, so you're punished each time your group matches monsters. You need every second you have to defeat monsters get farther and farther along in this never-ending quest. If you're matching monsters, that means you're using Unison Lord, for lack of a better word. I forget what they're called exactly. Like the Time Lord and the Fire Lord. And those animations take longer to go through than Genesis or no extra animation, obviously. So you're losing valuable time to get ahead. You don't want to match, and especially if someone puts themselves on auto, you're probably going to match. And that costs you points, and that costs you valuable time, and that's a problem. I've also noticed that it's really hard to know what utilities you need to bring in order to counter monsters and their effects. Usually you have to go a few rounds before you know what monsters are in the Mobius and what you have to bring with you. Typically it's best to plan what you're bringing with other people to make sure you're not duplicating utilities. So it's typically best also to go with your guild or a group of friends and not a party of random people. But this can be very time consuming. I know that almost every guild I've been in has members from different time zones, and it's hard to get everyone together and it's hard to organize because people have work and people have school and people have to eat dinner or lunch or whatever. And this is very troubling because you're very much punished for not having a party of organized people. It's best not to go with a bunch of random people. It's best to go with a group whose playstyle you know and who can organize with you and bring the best monsters and utilities, like I was saying. But this really isn't feasible for a lot of people in guilds that aren't particularly active, or in guilds where gear scores are very varied, or like I was saying, in guilds where players are in very different time zones and things just don't match up. It's also very hard for clerics to manage their cost as time goes on and the Mobius gets harder and harder. I know it's hard for everyone to manage costs because, Lancers, for example, have a really big issue with cost. But clerics in particular, I feel, struggle because you constantly need to heal people and there's just no time between your cooldowns and your use of cost to just do everything you need, and that leads to early death for people. And as a cleric, this is something I notice constantly. It's always my fault when people die, even though they might not use the best gear or they might be a little squishy. And it's really, really troubling and disconcerting. It's like, well, I could have saved them if, my cooldown was a second faster, or if I had literally 2 more costs. It's just very hard to juggle and know when to use things when you're constantly being hit by these moves that take a certain percentage of your health, for example, a very large percentage, and then you have to use dignity, and then all of a sudden there's another one just like that, and then you have to use your other area heal, and then your other area heal to get the other 2 people you didn't heal with that previous area heal, because there's usually a 3-person limit. In fact, pretty much always a 3-person. It's just a very big problem. And I know these quests are supposed to be challenging, but it's really, really irritating when you have to try and save everyone and then you just can't because of a split second with needing to generate more cost or needing your cooldown to happen, and then these very agitated monsters just wanting to murder the absolute shit out of you and your team. Bothersome. Another thing that really bothers me is the fact that the final rewards, specifically the card flips, are absolute crap. You can go through this event that takes pretty much absolute minimum for halfway decent player, 10 minutes, and then get to the card flip, and then you wind up with a silver augment mat. Really? Those are fucking useless. They're not even helpful for noobs. Please make slightly better rewards. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about the amount of time that goes into getting this reward and then the actual reward you receive. The step up for the ladder, the thing that's determined by your repels, isn't so bad because there's some gems and other useful items in that, but it can take forever to get there, especially if you're a moderate player or a lower end player. So better, could use a little tweaking, could use a little work to make it stronger and more useful for the average player and the player base as a whole. So there you have it. That's everything I can think of that's wrong with the Mobius Path or Mobius event, as it's more commonly called. What do you think of my list? Did I miss anything? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Please note that any corrections and or clarifications will be listed down below in the description section. And if you like what you saw here today, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd always like to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Also, hit that notification bell so you know what's up, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye guys!